Hey everybody, welcome to today's training. As the intro video said, my name is Steph Tuss. I'm CEO for LiveisNow, and with me today is David Nagel, where we're going to deliver part 2 of how to navigate a new economy. And we're going to be specifically talking about how to optimize your company rhythm. Now, this is the first time we've actually ever talked about company rhythm. And done a training on company rhythm. So what the plan is we're going to do a brief review of last week's training, just a small portion of review, and then really get into what is company rhythm, what rhythm is your company working on, and what you can do right now to begin to improve that. Because the idea is that with the changes in the economy, you need to be more productive, you need to have better use of your time, you need to have better value for your time, and that all boils down to the rhythm of your company. Also, we're going to be talking about a very special opportunity that we have for you to come in and work with David and I personally. We've had lots of questions about the recession, about the new economy, about how to make sure that your company will grow over the next year or two rather than just survive. So we created a program. We're only offering it over 2 dates where you have the opportunity to come in and meet with David and I in a small group where we actually spend time digging into your personal business to help you solve any specific problems that keep recurring for you and help you root out anything that could possibly be keeping you stuck. And I'll be talking about that a little bit later on in the training, but wanted to give you heads up anyway. Team, can you pop the link to the info page in chat, please, so that everybody has it in case you need to hop off early. It's theirs and yours to take a look at. There will not be a recording of this, so thank you so much for those of you that joined us live. It means that you're in it to win it. We plan to deliver some amazing content this evening. And if you have questions, about this, the best place to ask those questions, because we don't have time for it tonight, is to join our Facebook group. It's a private Facebook group where you can get your questions answered. So Sarah, would you mind popping the Facebook group in chat when you get a chance as well for anyone who's not already a member of that group? All right, you can all see me, you can all hear me, because no one's messaging me saying that you can't. So let's get started. Today's topic, as I said, is on optimizing your company rhythm. Every company has a rhythm, and this rhythm determines the speed at which a company can grow. During this class, we'll focus on your company rhythm and how you can optimize the effectiveness and efficiency of your team and actually of yourself as well, so that everyone is working at peak level. Okay, David is here. I think we're having a little bit of problems getting him unmuted. David, can you hear me? Is David muted?
Okay, I'm unmuted. There we go.
Okay, all right, so in part 1, you spent actually quite a bit of time talking about the new economy, what we're calling the new economy, because there's the jury's out on the whole recession thing, but we know we're in a changing economy with the increase in prices. People are making different buying decisions. And we felt like it's such an important part of this 3-part training that it would be really good to go back and revisit what that actually means. So can you just give a real brief overview of what do you mean by a changing economy?
Yeah, absolutely. So our economy is one of the most fascinating financial economies in the entire world. And the problem is that most people don't understand it. It's highly manipulated by the news and other companies in order to get the things that they want from the public, as far as getting them to react in how they spend money and how they hold on to money. It's largely manipulated through fear. And people don't realize that it's actually built to recover itself, right? Like part of the genius in our economy is that it's recoverable, but it has highs and lows, it has ups and downs, right? It operates based on the law of rhythm. And whenever we go through a recession is a correction in our economy. Here's the problem with this, though. Almost nobody knows that. I mean, unless you've been educated in that in some way, you wouldn't know that unless somebody told you. And the other thing is that the people that get affected by it the most are the ones that have not yet learned how to create their own economy. In other words, they don't actually understand how to create the amount of money they need, when they need it, whenever they need it. So they get stuck as soon as fear starts to be exploited. across all media, and they do the worst thing that they possibly could do, which is actually freeze up. So now, this is the thing that's about this that's kind of wacky. Some places want you to freeze up because it increases their value when you do. But the key is to understand that if you have a business, understanding this fundamental principle will change everything in your business life and history. And that's this: you have to understand the value system by which your market purchases on. Some markets purchase on the idea that there's not enough. So when the telltale signs show up out there and they say, oh, there's not enough money, we're going into a recession or something like that, what they do is they hang on to the very little bit that they have, and they don't understand that there are still people buying and spending money all over the place. Of course, they're responding to what they're told is going on. They don't see the value increases, the great deals that people are doing, all kinds of businesses that are growing in fascinating and amazing ways. They just see whatever their fear is guiding them into. And the key is that if you understand business, if you understand business people, and if you understand why people need the things that they need, you'll find that there's a completely different set of individuals throughout the world, and they don't buy based on how much money they have or don't have. They've overshot that in their life long time ago. They understand how to make money, and they're constantly looking for where is there a good value trade for them to make in business. They're looking for people that buy based on the value of what it is that they're perceiving that they're getting from a product or service. Whether the income or the economy goes up or down, it doesn't faze them in the least bit. And you don't even have to believe me on this. Go track this all the way back down to the 30s when we went into a depression. It's the same time. Every few years, we go through a roll, and that's the way that it is. But the people that are hurt the most are the ones that are ignorant the most. I was just as shocked about this when I started business myself, because I didn't know that. I had to learn it. And I've been through like 4 or 5 pretty severe down economies since then. And we've always grown. I mean, we always grow anyway, but it's actually easier to grow because the things that what you put out, you're looking for people that are actually in need and have the cortex of value to say, you know something, I really want to do something with this right now. This is a great opportunity for me. And that exists everywhere, but you just have to be taught to see it and understand what it is. And you have to understand this important thing. You want to make a note of this. All business and all economy is based on the law of rhythm. And you have to understand what the rhythm is so that you know how to operate within the cycles themselves. Is that what you were thinking, Steph?
Yeah, it's really a simple, it's really simply taking a step back and removing the emotions and the fear of what's happening. I mean, we had a group Q&A today on one of our calls, and the amount of fear some people were experiencing was palpable, right? So it's about taking a step back and understanding what's actually happening. And when you understand what's happening, you know how to adjust what's happening. The anxiety goes away. How many of you have some level of anxiety around the changes that are happening in the country right now? Just type me in chat. Just give us an idea. Some level of anxiety about what's going on in the world, what's going on with the economy. Just type me in chat. Thanks for being honest, Michael. Good to see you again. Some, yes, no, good. Some clients do. That's good to understand. Some, me, Mark. Some, Holland. Good. So it's kind of like you're being very careful as to what you're putting in front of you, which protects you a little bit from going into the fear and anxiety that's being kind of put out through all, over all media. But I want to show you a diagram that was taught to me by a friend of mine by the name of Simon Bone. He is just wonderful with models. And he showed me this model, and I asked him if I could show it with you because it was so profound for me to see it. So let me just share my screen. And for those of you that were on the first one have already seen this, but this will be just a review. Share, come on, technology. Okay, so basically if you're drawing this out in an example, this is my pen here. Let's put today in this box. I'm going to go a little thinner here. This is time. So this is time into the future. This is where everything is going to kind of write itself. So this between T and the line here, this is where we are right now. And this is just like future. So, right? So everyone's at today right now. There are certain people that will react to what's going on in certain ways. So you've got people in red that are going to decrease during this time. They're going to freeze. They're very fear-based. They're going to react based on fear. They're going to make decisions based on fear, and their business will decline. So these are our freezers and fear. Okay, their mode is panic. Something starts going wrong, they panic, they start pulling back, they start cutting back, and then everything stops, everything constricts. Those are our freeze and fear entrepreneurs. Then there's this yellow line, and these guys just kind of follow this up and down. These toe the line. They do okay, and then they don't do okay. Then they do okay, and then they don't do okay. And then they do okay, and they don't do okay. These people are flight focused. They're the preppers. So they're constantly preparing. We're prepping. We're preparing for a downturn. We're preparing. We're getting ready. They're not innovating. They're ducking and covering. They're digging in. Okay. They are going to end up in future the same place that they were today. So they're going to end up here, but they're going to be at the same place in business that they are today. And then there's the third group. This group from today will increase business and grow astronomically. It just auto-corrected for me. These are the strategy folks, and these are the focus folks. They are positioning. They're making decisions based upon where they want to go, not where they are right now or what could possibly happen terrible in the future. The green will grow, the yellow will stay the exact same, and the red will decline based on how they react to what's going on. So take a good look at yourself. It's good to self-identify. Where are you right now? Are you in flight and prepping? Are you freezing in fear? Are you looking for, are you in panic? Or are you really strategy focused and looking at growing your business based upon where you want to go versus where you are right now? And here's the difference between the lines. The difference between the top line and the bottom line, between these two lines right here, is quite simply leadership. It's all mindset. That's what makes the difference between the people that excel and exceed in a recession or in a downturn or in a pandemic or in any other kind of change in society or economy, and people that lose everything or decrease in business. Is this making sense? Are you all self-identifying with where you are right now? The only difference between what line you're on is leadership. It's how you're thinking about where you are and how you're thinking about where you're going and how you're leading yourself and your people during that time. If that makes sense, just type G to G in chat. Just give me a good to go. I'm with you, Steph. We're good to go. Awesome. Lots of good to goes. So that's where we get into company rhythm. So let me just define company rhythm, because when I say company rhythm, I'm sure you have your own definition of what that means. The definition of company rhythm, if you want to write this down, is company rhythm refers to the consistent and predictable patterns of behavior that shape how work gets done in an organization. So let me say that again. Company rhythm refers to the consistent and predictable patterns of behavior that shape how work gets done in an organization. So I like to think of company rhythm as the habits of the organization. And I'm looking at the organization as a living, breathing entity, because companies are living, breathing entities. They're made up of people, but they're singularly focused on growing. Just like your body is made up of all different types of organs, but you're singularly focused on keeping everything moving forward, keeping you alive, keeping you breathing, keeping you moving. Company is the same way. And each company has a rhythm. And what people don't understand, because they don't have the awareness, is that if your company is in a dysfunctional rhythm, you are not going to grow. You're actually going to cause more problems than solve them. And you can break this down into two main types. And if you've read our emails at all promoting this, you'll know that there are two main types of company rhythms, dysfunctional company rhythms. There's the rhythm where everyone is overwhelmed, including the founder, the owner. Everyone is overwhelmed. Everyone's saying how overwhelmed they are. They're all harried. They're putting out fires and reacting to everything. Okay, so that's the, oh my God, I got to work till 8 o'clock at night because I didn't get everything done. And I had to skip the workout because so-and-so didn't do the thing that they said they were going to do. So it landed back on my plate, and that we're having a hard time keeping up, but we want to bring in more clients. That kind of dysfunctional company rhythm. And then the flip side of that is the company rhythm where everything is happening at a snail's pace. Everybody's waiting on everybody else to do their thing so they can move forward. Everybody's waiting on the company founder to make decisions, and they're hesitant to making those decisions. So things just move too slow. So you've got the running around with the chicken, like a chicken with our head cut off, or you've got our tortoise. We're moving too slow. We're not making decisions fast enough. We're not getting done. We're not getting work done quick enough. Time is not being used efficiently. If you were to ask yourself that question, which rhythm am I in? Can you categorize yourself in one or another of those? And I would say start with yourself. Are you feeling overwhelmed? Are you feeling like you have to work outside of the hours of 9 in the morning and 6 p.m.? Like, how are you feeling in your business? And then if you wouldn't mind sharing, just type that in chat. Got overwhelm, we've got overwhelm, we've got overwhelm, overwhelm. Oh, we've got lots of overwhelmers. Stressed, varying between the two. And that is a thing. That is definitely a thing where you're racing. You hit that thing and then everything stops. Take your foot off the gas, it slows way down. And then you realize, oh my God, we got to pick this up again. You grab that new idea, you race, and then you hit that thing and everything stops again. That is a combination of the two dysfunctional company rhythms. Stressed and overwhelmed, switch from overwhelmed to tortoise, overwhelm at one level, waiting at another. Stressed and overwhelmed, medium, hours vary. There's too much work to do. That means you're overwhelmed. Needing to learn, do it, and now an urgency. So, okay, overwhelmed. So we've got lots of both. More overwhelmed than anything. Good for you, Barbara. You've been working on this for a while. Good for you.
Nobody wants to make a mistake either. Right?
Nobody, you want to talk about that? Nobody
Sure.
wants to make a mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing about this that's really incredible is that everybody has a great intention. It's not like people are trying to sabotage. They don't know what to do. Fear is overcoming them. There's information that they don't have that they need that will allow them to make the decisions. And where Steph talks about the leadership coming in is that somebody has to be able to see beyond the problem that is right in front of them so that they can lead. Because the people that work for you, they want to do great things for you. They don't want to make mistakes. But if a person doesn't know what to do, the chances are they're going to experience exactly what's going on in the chat right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not a single business founder should ever feel overwhelmed. Ever. Overwhelm is a sign that you're doing things that you should not be doing, period. And I know that that's a hard truth to hear, but it's 100% truthful. If you were to really sit back and say, ooh, I'm overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed because I'm doing the things that I am not supposed to be doing. And you have all numbers of excuses about why that is. I can't find someone to hire. It's too expensive to hire. No one can do it as good as I can. I'll just get it done because I have time right now. If someone makes a mistake, the clients will be angry. They'll all leave. I mean, come on, guys. We have heard every excuse out there as to why you have to do the things that actually you shouldn't be doing. And that's really the root of overwhelm. But that overwhelm trickles down into every aspect of your company. Most owners that say that they're overwhelmed will also say that their team is overwhelmed. They'll tolerate overwhelm from their team for the same excuses and same reasons that they give. It all starts with who you're being in your company, how you're showing up, what you're tolerating, what you're delegating, what you're not delegating, and how you're supporting your team, and also getting the things that they shouldn't be doing off of their plate. Everyone's so worried about how we're going to be someone, or how we're going to do this, or overworking someone, or having a difficult conversation, that it just continues to be tolerated. And what ends up happening is your company becomes this train that doesn't have any brakes, and you end up resenting your business. I hear from business owners, I've had it. I just want to blow the whole thing up. Any of you ever felt like you just want to blow the whole thing up? Like, F it, I'm done. I'm walking out of here. Forget it. I don't want to do this anymore. It starts to get you to question whether or not you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Well, maybe I'm not supposed to be doing this. Maybe I'm not in my purpose. Maybe I should switch this and go do something else. Maybe I should fire everybody and just be a one-man team. I see Sharon nodding her head, right? Maybe I should just fire everybody and start over. Let's just burn the whole damn thing down, right?
Yeah, looking for justifications to match the emotion that we're feeling.
Right. But the crazy thing about this, and the amazing thing about this, because once you realize that you can actually fix it, it is within your control to fix, is that it all starts with you. You determine your company rhythm. And we're going to talk in a little bit about certain things that you can implement to get back control of that company rhythm and to set up pacing. But it's really important for you to understand that this is an inside job first, right? And then the behavior needs to match the result that you want to receive. The behavior needs to match the result that you want to receive. So I'm going to tell you a story. I love stories. I think people learn in stories. We had an attorney that we're working with privately. His name is Kevin. And he came to us, and in conversation, just every time we spoke to him, he's an overwhelm. Every single time. I'm an overwhelm. I've got so much to do. My wife needs this from me. My kids need this from me. My company needs this from me. I'm always an overwhelm. I'm always putting out fires. He had no boundaries with his calendar. And I said, what does your calendar look like? Oh, it's a dumpster fire. Like it was a medal, like a badge, like a proud badge. Like my calendar is a dumpster fire. His team was running around unclear about what it was that they were trying to build. He had a lack of communication. He had a lack of boundaries around tasks and projects. And it was running, his firm was running purely on, let's just get that next thing done. Let's just get that next thing done. Let's just check this thing off the list. Let's just get the next thing done. And when we got him to step back and really take a moment to breathe, he could see how this is a reflection of how he was feeling inside. Does that make sense to everybody? He's feeling overwhelmed. He's feeling like he can't be everything to everyone. He's concerned about letting people down. He's concerned about upsetting clients. And it's coming out, it's being projected as this frantic, everyone running around, like a chicken with their head cut off and nothing being done well. He'd also be the same person that would say, I'm so frustrated. They just can't get this right. Like, it's not perfect. They're not doing it like I would do it. And he was just incredibly frustrated with his whole business. So David and I worked with him to get him to take a step back and look and begin to attack certain things that he was tolerating. So first of all, no boundaries with a calendar. Your life should be set up around your calendar. Your calendar tells you what it is that you need to do. How many of you have issues with your calendar? You don't like it, it feels too restrictive. Okay, we'll come back to that. He also didn't have proper support. He was the one that was on phone with the tech fixing the printer. He was the one having a conversation to book a prospective client on a call. He did not have appropriate support set up for him so that he could do what he needed to do best, which was business development and work on high dollar cases. He didn't have anybody managing anyone. He was trying to also manage the team. He was doing 5 roles when he was meant for 1. So we got him to start with an administrative assistant, hire an administrative assistant, put boundaries around his calendar. Then we got him to communicate his vision to the team. And most of you have heard me talk about the importance of vision. If your company doesn't know where you're going, they're all reactive. Having a vision makes your company proactive. So he communicated his vision, got himself an executive assistant, got everyone on the same page, instituted project management software so everything was tasked, set up, everybody knew deadlines. And guess what happened? His company rhythm regulated. It was consistent. And once again, the definition of a company rhythm is it refers to the consistent and predictable patterns of behavior that shape how work gets done in an organization. And the keywords there are consistent and predictable. Now, David, you could speak to the underlying issues that were causing this. Why do business owners do this? Why do they do all the things that they don't need to be doing? Why are their hands in everything? Why are they running around consistently putting out fires? What's the underlying root of all of this?
So the underlying root, actually, when you get right down to it, is shame. People don't want to make mistakes, and they're avoiding how they're going to be viewed if they actually make a mistake. So as Steph was saying, with the idea of the company pattern, if I don't know what to do, my defense mechanism inside of me is going to push back against what it is that I'm actually facing. And the problem is that that's an ego-driven idea. The idea is basically, I'm going to save myself in the way that I look in as far as it shows up in front of everybody else. But here's the wild thing about this. When you start to really look at the way a person begins to behave in a situation like this, what they're really experiencing is that I'm going to do everything that I possibly can so that I'm not scared and I'm not in shame. Back in the late 80s, during the savings and loan crisis, I was working for a company where I was doing 100% sales commission. That's how I was making money. And then when the crisis happened and people started panicking, I didn't know anything about how the economy worked. I ended up going bankrupt because I didn't know what else to do. I completely froze, just like Steph's saying. I didn't know what to do. I didn't even think that the skills that I had would transfer over into anything else. And it left me feeling completely hopeless, right? So and then I spent all this time just trying to push against everything that I was doing so that I could come back from the problem, not knowing what was actually causing it. I didn't know how to trust myself. I didn't know how to trust myself. I didn't know what I knew that I didn't know, because everything was showing up as a constant state of fear. You've moved forward 10 years from that date when I started the company, basically in 1999. As soon as I started the company, I went into this fear pattern again. And I didn't understand why I was going into this fear pattern, but I knew that if I didn't change it quick, everything was going to go under. And I sat there and I thought, what is the core of what is going on here? Because I went into this role that repeated itself a couple of cycles before I actually found it out, where I was working harder. Like That seemed to be the answer for everything. And it was the answer because that's what I was taught growing up, just like most of you were taught growing up. If it's not working, work harder, right? If you're not reaching the goal, work harder. If there's a problem going on, work harder. And that's the worst thing that you can do in a situation like this. And I sat down at my desk and I thought, what is it I'm trying to avoid the most? And the answer was, I didn't want the people that told me I couldn't do this to be right. And I would rather experience pushing against that than actually saying, how do I actually fix this problem? So people get into this rebellious state of mind, but what they don't realize is that they're just crippling what it is that they've got right in front of them, Steph.
Yeah. I think I'm going to bring up another issue too. So that's the one that we see most commonly. But I also think that, and this is directly related to shame again, there is this, and you touched on it. A lot of entrepreneurs have attached their value to the amount of work that they complete. I'm not good enough if I don't work harder than everybody else. I'm not worthy enough if I don't do all of these things. So they've dysfunctionally and unhealthily connected their value to their amount of work. Right? It goes right, it just goes right straight to their core wound. Because if it was easier, that meant they're not needed as much, and not needed as much means they're not valued. And it's just not true.
It's not true.
I hear founders all the time say, Steph, my dream is to be able to take a 3-week vacation. I would love to take a 3-week vacation and just know that my team has the company in their hands. And then they take a 3-week vacation and they feel absolutely guilty for the entire 3 weeks. And they're wondering what their team is thinking of them because they're not at work and the team is at work. Because their self-worth is tied into work. And that's not what your self-worth should be tied into. Does that sound on track to you, David?
100%. It's not, I mean, I think if you consciously ask yourself the question, what am I actually working for? It's not to work harder. I've never had anybody tell me that when I ask them, what's your dream? What are you trying to accomplish? They never say, I want to work harder. It's always the opposite. But when you start to get into that defense posture, your subconscious kicks in and it does what you were told to do your whole life, which is work harder. And it's a mad scramble and an invisible finish line. It doesn't exist. The idea is, what is the actual result that I'm looking for and how can I get that? And that's based on cause and effect. It's not based on hard work. And it's based on leadership. Correct.
Then there's a fourth type of dysfunctional company rhythm. And this is the sneakiest and most insidious. I'm going to give some context behind this. So a big study was done that found most entrepreneurs are raised in very chaotic households. They have a very chaotic childhood, which has given them the ability to read people. It has given them the ability to be resourceful. It has given them the ability to problem solve, right? I mean, David was raised in a chaotic family. I was raised in a chaotic family, and that's both of our strengths. So that's used to build a business. That's most entrepreneurs' backgrounds. I don't know if any of you can identify with that. If you've had a chaotic upbringing, that's given you the ability to problem solve, to read people, and to be resourceful. But that's big in entrepreneurs. But the problem with that is, if you don't understand that this is going on behind the scenes, under the surface, what generally tends to happen is that entrepreneurs are actually uncomfortable with calm. They're uncomfortable with consistency. They're uncomfortable when things are going really well. And so they don't realize it, but they end up throwing hand grenades into the business to blow things up, to create chaos so that they can feel more comfortable in that. And it disrupts the entire company rhythm. Really successful entrepreneurs know this about themselves, and they put people in place to make sure that doesn't happen. Can anybody relate to that? Like, ooh, things are going really well. I wonder when the other shoe's going to drop. I wonder what, let's change everything. Let's do this thing. Let's go this way. I've had founders having the best time in their business, just onboarding a new team that's doing really well, say something like this to me: I think I'm going to take a 3-week vacation next week and see what the team does. Like, throw the hand grenade. Like, you're just blowing up. You're waiting for your team to blow things up by doing that. You're not setting them up for success. So that's the most insidious. That's the most insidious type of company rhythm, in that you don't know what the rhythm is because you're constantly waiting for the founder to drop a bomb that's going to disrupt everything. Who can relate to this? Give me some feedback in chat. Are you all tracking? You've got the running around with your chicken with your head cut off. You got the snail's pace. You got the roller coaster. That's a combination of both. And then you have the founder that, wants it to be consistent, wants to get good results, and then throws bombs in to disrupt everything and create chaos. And it looks different in every different business. Yeah.
And then people start looking for chaos outside. You become very susceptible to chaos anywhere, because that's how you're, like Steph said, that's what you're used to actually dealing with, and you're really good at it. So if it's not going on in one place, you notice it somewhere else.
Yes. They'll blow up their personal life. They'll blow up their health. They'll blow up their relationships, because they have to have that chaos so that they have something to solve, so that they can feel comfortable, because that's what they know. So constantly trying to be aware, put things in place to make sure you don't do that, right? If you know that you were raised in that environment, and you have a propensity to do that, put a buffer, put rules in place so that you have a stop method to keep you from doing that. And maybe even if you're working for someone that does that, having this conversation with them, because they're probably completely unaware that they're doing it. Okay, David, is there anything else that you want to add about company rhythm in here before we go into actually things that you can do to optimize company rhythm?
No, I think you just go into it, Steph. I think that we laid the foundation for that very well.
Okay, perfect. So let's talk about things that you can implement, like actual behaviors, actual things that you can implement to get this company rhythm on track. The first thing is, let's go back to talking about overwhelm. If you're overwhelmed, everyone in your company will be overwhelmed, and they will have your permission to be overwhelmed. It will be the status quo. Everyone will be overwhelmed. So the idea is that you get everything off your plate that you can, so that you are not overwhelmed. And there's a really good exercise. It's very well known. I've talked about this previously, where you keep a notepad and you diligently write down every single thing that you do in a day. It's interesting. We were just meeting with a private client, and I gave this assignment to them as well. You write down everything you do over the course of the day. Then after you've gone, say, 5 days to 7 days, you take a look and you circle the things that only you can do, that only you have the ability, that's in your genius to do. And you look at all the other things that don't take your genius to do. Those things then get moved on to someone else or something else. So if you're the founder, you should not be managing your own inbox. You should not be managing your own calendar. You should not be sending out agreements and contracts. You should not be meeting with vendors. Those are things that can be done by someone else for much less cost to the company. Is this making sense? And some of you are looking like, I don't want to make that list, because if I make that list, I'll see all the things I need to delegate. And if I need to delegate, then that means I need to hire someone. And I'm afraid to hire someone, because what if I'm not a good leader, and what is it going to cost me? And just stop the noise, take it one step at a time, and do the exercise. Okay, just do the exercise. Write down every single thing that you do, and then go back and circle only the things that require your unique expertise. Okay, that's where you want to be. That's where you want to be living. There's a really great book on this, guys. It just came out, actually. The book is called Buy Back Your Time The author is Dan Martell. He walks you through a process of how to buy back your time and gives you a formula where you can see this is how much time, this is how much your time is worth compared to this is how much an assistant's time is worth. Your time might be worth $175 an hour. Your assistant's time might be worth $20 an hour. Why would you spend your time that's worth $175 an hour doing something an assistant can do for $25 an hour? Are you following me? You're stealing from your company. You're robbing from yourself. You're robbing from yourself. So just take it one step at a time, do the exercise, and see where maybe you can offload things. There's some great resources for you. If you need a part-time assistant, even just 10 hours a week, to take some of the administrative tasks off your plate, there's a great site called assistantly.com where you could get a virtual VA. They're very reasonable, they're highly trained, and they're managed by someone else. Assistantly.com. Now you don't have an excuse. I've even told you where to find a great VA, a great administrative VA for a minimum of 10 hours a week up to full time. But the idea is that you do the activity. Delegation is the key to you optimizing your company rhythm. Because if you're underwater, if you're overwhelmed, everybody else will be feeling overwhelmed as well. And your time needs to be spent doing what you do best. Business development, networking, client delivery, if that's your thing. Second, calendaring, project management software. They work hand in hand. Okay, so what I see happen is that projects are talked about, like, oh, we're gonna do a virtual summit. We're gonna do a webinar. Let's use that as an example. We're gonna do a webinar. Great. When are we gonna do the webinar? Let's schedule it for 3 weeks from now. Okay, great. Sounds good. What's the title? Let's call it this. Okay, great. Sounds good. But then all the work that needs to be done to create that webinar never gets put on anyone's calendar. So there's never any space for it. So the idea behind using your project management software, we use Teamwork, and your calendar is that you put a project in Teamwork, you task out all the things that need to be done to whoever needs to do it in Teamwork. You assign deadlines. Nothing should ever be assigned without a deadline. Those of you who are tasking and asking people to get you things, deadlines are a must for company rhythm. And then you take from Teamwork and you put it into your calendar time for you to complete those things. So if you need to film a video, if you need to do social media, all that goes in your calendar, and there's space for you to do that in your calendar rather than in the in-between spaces where you've got a free 5 minutes here and there. Because then what happens is you get to the date of the webinar, you're unhappy with how it was set up, you have less people show up on it than you want showing up on it because you didn't do a great job with promoting it, and it all came down to it was just poorly planned. You didn't use the tools you needed to plan it. This lets your team know what the pacing is with due dates. It lets you know who's doing what and when, so you can build trust with your team. I saw someone in here say, what if I don't trust my team? That's a whole nother free training. Because you need to build, your team needs to build trust with you, and you need to build trust with your team. And you do that by setting deadlines and holding people to those deadlines and training them how to hit those deadlines. So those are easy things, right? Like this is not rocket science, right? Like I'm talking to you and you're like, yeah, Steph, we know. We need to get stuff off our plate. That's not the best use of our time. We need to use our calendar. I've heard it 5 million times. And yeah, project management software, Teamwork. That's another software technology that I need to learn. But David, why are people so resistant to this?
So let me ask you a question. Really think about this for a second. What would happen if it's that easy, if you actually win really big? There's a training that I've done for years when I talk to people about the psychological set point of their finances, and what's actually causing it has nothing to do with the world that they're out trying to build a business in. It has to do with the idea in their mind of what happens to them if they actually get their result. The fact that I think Steph made a really good point here when she was talking about this idea where we get overwhelmed and we go into working harder and we get into this idea of solving chaos. if your subconscious mind is actually not trying to solve the problem, even if it seems simple, you won't solve it. You'd be like, well, it can't be that easy. You can't do that. You'll keep going after looking for what the problem is, only because that's where you feel comfortable. But you have to realize you're not getting the result in that place. You're getting an emotional feeling in that place. It feels like you're doing something. It has been a reactionary part of your process in your life at some point or for a long period of time. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't make you feel good about you. Because the way that you have actually extracted your own self-worth through your life is about going out and overcoming this kind of chaos in your world. So this is while the principles of it on the surface, they seem relatively simple. It's like moving mountains in a person's mind because of what they actually think that they're trying to accomplish in their thought process. And it doesn't exist. It's not there. I saw several people put in the chat where they've seen people who start to build a business and they just completely tear it apart. We've seen that. Steph and I have seen that. I can't tell you how many times. And I'm talking really successful people, because they're not getting their core value from actually having things run great. They get their core value from overcoming these seeming challenges that don't actually exist. So if they don't exist, they're going to rip it down and they're going to create a new one. The whole key around what it is that you want to do is you want to look at, what is the result that I want? What is this result that I actually want? What do I want to accomplish in the things that I'm doing? And how can I make this easier? One of the things that I have stood on for 24 years now in this business is telling people success is actually easy. We've bought into a lie that it's difficult, and it's catastrophic when something goes wrong, because that's what we think that we have to fix, and it's not.
We talked about this on part one, but the crazy thing about this is you don't realize you're doing this.
Right.
Like, you understand the symptoms. Like if you say, I feel overwhelmed, but you don't understand how it's serving you to be overwhelmed. And that's a blind spot, right? You can't see what you can't see. You need someone to help you see it for yourself, why you're in these dysfunctional patterns in your business. So what happens if you don't optimize your company rhythm? Well, you have a roller coaster revenue. You have great months followed by really terrible months, followed by okay months, followed by really terrible months, followed by okay months. If you have an even company rhythm, you should have consistent income. Consistent habits create consistent income. Consistent behaviors create consistent income. Your team will leave. When I speak to a founder who's had a really hard time retaining team, it's generally because of their company rhythm. It's generally because they're not communicating clearly. They don't have structures put into place. People aren't sure what it is that they're working for. And they're tired of working really hard for something only to have the founder blow it up, throw a wrench in, and they leave. So retention is a big issue with a dysfunctional company rhythm. And then from the founder or the owner side, it's constant frustration and resentment. You're frustrated that you don't get the results that you want. You're resenting your team because you're paying them, but they're not doing what you want them to do. And that's what causes that I'm just going to fire everyone and start over mentality. I'm just going to burn it all down mentality, right? So nobody wants that. You've put your blood, sweat, and tears into your business. Your business is a reflection of you. Nobody wants to be on a roller coaster revenue. Nobody wants their team to leave. It's very painful. It's very, very expensive. And no one wants to live in constant frustration and resentment. So the idea is that if you're experiencing any of these, you really got to look at, how am I running my business and how am I running myself? Because the key point is it's all self-inflicted. It's all an inside job.
Every time, with everyone, absolutely no exceptions. That's why it's called a blind spot. You can't see what you're doing. You'll be thoroughly convinced that it's all the problems that you're focusing on outside of yourself. But you have to ask yourself, how did I get into these problems to begin with? They were based on decisions that you made, thinking that you were doing the right thing. It's not outside of you. That's for sure.
And that's why we, David and I collectively decided to create the Business Growth Accelerator, which is what I talked to you about at the beginning. We were sitting around talking about this, and we kept getting these questions. And we've got group programs, we've got private coaching for us, to work with us for a year is over $100,000. But we knew that there was a group of people that needed a shot in the arm. They needed our help with figuring out what this one thing was that was causing all these problems, and they needed an action plan to fix it. So we created the Business Growth Accelerator. It is a 2-day in-person intensive as a small group with me and David. Everybody gets 45 minutes where we work directly on your business, pulling out what the key problem is, giving you an action plan to implement when you leave, and everyone in the group watches everyone else get coached. And here's the crazy thing. You learn more about what to do and about yourself from watching someone else receive coaching most often than you do from actually receiving the coaching yourself. So it's 2 solid days of that with individual attention on your business. Plus, you get 30 days of email support, private email support from both David and I. Now, if you know how we work, he's the what and the why. He's the mindset. He's the let's get in and dig into your beliefs. I'm the let's take action gal, right? Anybody that has worked with us for a while knows that I'm like, let's put new behaviors in place. Because the only way to change a belief, the only way to change a paradigm is to do something different and to get a different result. So the idea when you come into Business Growth Accelerator is that you gain awareness of what's actually the problem, what is actually going on underneath the surface, and then you leave with an action plan of what you can do to begin to change that. And I know those of you who are on here who have already decided to join us are like, thank God I'm coming to Business Growth Accelerator because I need this so bad. We're not doing this again. There's 2 dates. It's March 9th and 10th, and it's March 23rd and 24th. We are half full on both of those dates, and we still have one more training that we're doing in a couple of weeks that will probably sell this out. So if you're thinking about doing this, I would not wait. Again, 2 dates, March 9th and 10th, March 23rd and 24th. It's here in North Carolina at our corporate headquarters, so we can control the environment. If you have any questions, you can go to the info page. And 2 key things here. You can bring a spouse or business partner for free. I don't think I told you how much it costs. Let me tell you how much it costs. So, and this is kind of surprising, which is probably why I forgot to tell you how much it costs. Regular pricing is $39.97. Because you're on the second training, we did offer this at a lower rate for the previous training. This training, we're still offering you $1,400 off. So your price is $2,500, I think $25.97. Or you can break that up into a payment plan, and you can get all that information on the info page that Sarah's posted in the chat. So you can come, you can bring a spouse or business partner, because support is always really, really good. And we guarantee you get what you need. We never guarantee coaching, but we're so confident in our ability to really help you get a major shift that after the first 3 hours of the first day, if you don't think this is for you, we'll refund 100% of your money and we'll give you travel cash to get home. So if you're thinking of doing this, this is the time to join us. Let us, David and I personally, get into your business, see what's going on, give you the solution, give you the action plan, and send you on your way so that you can have the impact that you want, and you can have the income that you want, and you don't have the crazy in your business, because that's the whole idea, right? You want a peaceful business that's consistent, that makes consistent money, working with people that you love, making the money so that you can do what you want with that, whether that's giving back or creating experiences for your family or reinvesting it back into your business so that you can continue to grow and scale. That's the whole goal. So if that's something you think you'd like to do, go ahead, click on the link. If you have questions, there is a little chat box on that page that is connected to Sarah. She will answer any questions that you have. It is not automated. It is not AI. It is Sarah, so she can answer any questions that you have about it. David, anything you want to mention about Business Growth Accelerator or the content for today?
Yeah. One of the things I'd like you really to think about is this. Part of the reason why we're willing to give a complete refund and travel money back home is because we know for a fact what we're going to give you will work. And you don't even have to explain to us why you don't think that it wouldn't work in order for us to give you the refund. The one thing that we're known for is helping people build very secure, profitable, high-end businesses where our track record is absolutely impeccable. The key, and it's like, well, what's the elephant in the room? Will you do it? Will you do it? And that's one of the reasons why we have no problem giving refunds, because anybody that's going to sign up for it, they know that they're going to do it. They're serious about where it is that they want to go. And I always tell people this because it amazes me. You folks are here for a reason. You didn't end up here by accident, right? There's something we have to offer you to help you. You could all kinds of different things that you could be doing today, other than spending your early evening, in this Zoom room with us, talking like this. You care about what you're doing. You want to learn more. You want to develop the skills and the confidence in exactly what you're doing, and you should be commended for that in a huge way. The amount of people that are out there just complaining about everything in life is horrific. It's absolutely horrific. And you guys have all stepped up and said you want to do something about that for yourself. So I just want to let you know, I always absolutely know when I'm talking to people that are very different out there in the world, and that's you folks. You're very different, or you wouldn't be here, and that's the God's truth.
Yes, thank you all for joining us. We know this is late evening for some of you, especially some of you in Europe. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you for part 3 in 2 weeks, and we look forward to working with you. So I'm going to say bye for now and wish you all a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.